Well, excited about our time together today. Loving well and discipling well requires more than awareness. It requires more than intentions, like having the intentions to actually carry it out. It requires intelligence. It requires an acumen. And very specifically, I believe it requires something I affectionately entitle relational intelligence. Now, when people hear the term relational intelligence, this is what typically has happened in my experience, at least when I'm teaching this. All the extroverts get super excited. Like, yes, right? And then the introverts and the ambiverts get very skeptical. So I want to be clear because I don't want you to read what I'm not writing here. Relational intelligence is not a personality trait. So a personality type, a personality trait may influence whether or not someone gets energy from being around people or excited about the prospect of being with people, but it in no way impacts whether or not they are good with people. So the myth that extrovert means high relational intelligence and introvert means low relational intelligence, it's absolutely not the case. So this isn't a personality type. This isn't a personality trait. It is simply a skill that helps you optimize relationships in a way that are in the best interest of you and the person you're in relationship with. And I think here's the irony. Like, I wrote this book and I've been teaching this concept for years, and I'm an introvert. And it doesn't mean I don't like people. I love people. I get energy when I'm able to retreat and be with myself. And that enables me to be optimized when I'm actually with people. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but I think it bears repeating. I think in order to grow, we have to change what we believe about growth. Yes, some growth can happen incrementally, but some growth can happen exponentially. And I would argue that like some drastic character shifts that we see specifically in the New Testament, let's say with people like Peter, who were temperamental, unreliable, impulsive, and then after the day of Pentecost become bold, courageous, steady, and sturdy. That would be not incremental growth. That happened relatively quickly, right? That's exponential growth. He experienced a quantum leap. And I think that the same thing can happen in this area of relational intelligence. And so for the purpose of this presentation, I want to clarify this idea of what does it mean, like this first layer of relational intelligence, to love self. I'm going to frame it this way. It means to understand, to embrace, and to unleash your God-given uniqueness. This is what I'm arguing. I'm arguing that until a person actually understands, embraces, and unleashes their God-given uniqueness, they will not be able to properly love others with theirs. Because just like you and I have uniqueness, others have uniqueness. And if that's not properly understood, differences become demonized. There are really 5 ways in which a person's uniqueness manifests itself. And here's the first one: unique design. So this is rooted in the belief in God's conversation with Jeremiah. So Jeremiah has some reticence. He feels like, I think sometimes he feels like what many of us feel from time to time, that some of our differences make us deficient. He's probably looking at his age. He's probably looking at his passions. He's probably looking at his confidence. He's probably assessing his own competencies. And he's like, you're telling me to do what they're doing, but I'm not wired the way they wired. I'm not comfortable with that. I could like proof text this all throughout almost every time scripture exposes us to a conversation a person has with God when God's calling them to something. God's having to talk them out of inadequacy to get them to accept the calling. because they're seeing their difference as deficient. It's unique design. And I think it's important not to ignore areas where we could grow, but it is so important to love that. Because if a person doesn't love it in them, they won't be able to see it and affirm it in others. So there's unique design, we have that, and then there's unique desires. Unique desires. This whole idea in Psalms that God gives us the desires of our heart. I don't think that means God gives us everything our heart wants. I think it means God gives our heart what to want. Like an example of this is like Hannah in the Old Testament who wanted a child. That desire in her was insatiable, not just because she wanted a child. God needed a prophet. So he made her want what he needed. And some of the things you want, God needs. Here's the other one. We have unique discontentment. I could pick 5 of you from this room, right? And we could walk into any space and there would be something that agitated you that did not bother me at all. We have unique discontentments. I call it unique agitations. Why is that important? It's because your purpose is always an answer to a problem. Think about this. When David comes to that field, he hears Goliath hurling those insults. All of Israel's just like, we're used to it. David's like, nobody has a problem with that. He's uniquely agitated by it because he's assigned to address it. And if a person doesn't embrace that and love that about themselves, they won't be able to embrace and love the difference in others. So there's unique design, unique desires, unique discontentment, and then there's unique dreams. Like we've just got unique visions for the world, don't we? So the last one is unique destiny. That is the ultimate impact that a person's supposed to make on the world. It is the unique expression of their unique contribution. And so I think the question really becomes, if we do some reverse engineering, it's how can I really love people well in all of their uniqueness if I haven't learned to love me well in mine? Because that's family. That is where relational intelligence begins. It begins with God helping me love me. Hope this helps. God bless.